Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This Shabbos is Shabbos Parshat Shoftim. Shoftim, which means judges, which we always read at the beginning of the month of Elul, because the month of Elul is the time which we prepare ourselves before we go in front of the judge, the King of all kings, the Judge of all judges, before we get to the Yom Hadin, the Day of Judgment, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, where it says that God decides everything for us for the entire year. On Rosh Hashanah we are inscribed, and Yom Kippur we are sealed. And so, is a unique pasuk which goes in this week's parsha of the judges, and obviously the theme of this parsha is the judges. Tzedek Tirdof is one of them, that you should judge, you should chase after justice. But one of the words that it says that when you choose a judge, when you go to find a judge, Asher Yeh Bayam Mahem, the judge which will be during that time, and that is the judge that you need to go to. The obvious question is that what do you mean Asher Yeh Bayam Mahem, that which is in that time? You can't possibly go to a judge that's not there. You can't go to a judge that doesn't exist. You can't go into a time machine and say, I want to go back to the judges that were here 100 years ago, because they're going to judge me better. Of course, you have to go to the judge in front of that day. It even says in the Talmud asks a question about this. What does that mean? So it says, somebody might say that they were better judges, and therefore you can't go to the judge of this time. It says, no, you have to go whoever the judge is at the time. That is your judge, and that's where he was meant to be. And it teaches something very powerful, and that is many times in our life we have this syndrome, and that is a syndrome of, remember the good old days. The good old days when everything was great, the good old days when everything was cheap, good old days before there was COVID, before there was inflation, before there was trouble, the good old days of the leadership, of the leaders that we had in the good old days versus today. And we sometimes get that syndrome of thinking about how good things were versus how good things are. And the reality is the month of Elul comes to tell us that we are exactly where we're meant to be. We are exactly where we're supposed to be. The divine providence that God placed us here right now means that we're supposed to go to today's judges, not to our previous life's judges, not to our previous leaders, the leaders that we have to today. And so sometimes the month of Elul is a month of changing perspective, of realizing that the reality is what we have right now is the best that we're supposed to have. And what we have as leadership right now is the leadership that we're supposed to have. And we shouldn't always think about what about the good old days, but we have to go to the judges that are here in this time. You know, there's the silly world of Chelm, and the Jewish story of Chelm, of the old Jew that comes to God, and he says, God, I'm ready to go to paradise. You know, God turns around and says, are you sure? Are you ready to go to paradise? He says, yeah, whatever it takes, I'm ready to go. So God says, okay, paradise is on the way. And the guy realizes, paradise is, not so far away from his house. And God tells him to just continue that direction. And so the silly Jew from Chelm, he's on his way to paradise, and he goes to sleep under a tree. And he's worried, what's he going to do when he wakes up? He may not remember which direction to go. And so he puts his shoes facing the direction to paradise. So it happens, whether a squirrel comes, whether an angel comes, and his shoes during the night turn the other way. And so he goes to, sees where his shoes are, he starts following, and he's going back, and he gets going back in the same direction which he came from. He gets to the city, he says, wow, the city looks so alike my city. But this time the city wasn't commotion, there wasn't traffic, there wasn't terrible, everything that's going on. It's like, this city is great. It's a city in paradise, looks exactly like my city. He starts to get hungry. He says, maybe in my city, there was a place to go eat. And he goes, lo and behold, the city has a beautiful place to eat, just like in his own city of paradise. Later on during the day, he's passing by and he sees, wow, there's a home just like mine in paradise. And so he goes to his home, and there happens to be a person that looks just like his wife is there, offering him this beautiful food. He's like, wow, this is amazing. Usually I go to my home and it's full of commotion, full of chaos. Now everything's a beautiful home in paradise, exactly like in my home. The next day he goes to sleep. The next day his wife gives him his tools to go to work. He says, what do you mean I'm in paradise? No, his wife says, in paradise you have to work too. And so he goes until the end of his life. He never realized that he just went back to his old life. And the point of his cute story is that sometimes we don't realize the blessings that Hashem gave us. And month of Elul is that time where we have to look at the perspective and look at the beautiful things that Hashem gave us. Look at all the blessings that God gave us. Don't just look at our challenges and our difficulties, and we like to dwell on the negative, but dwell on the positive. And if we do that, then for sure God will grant us all. God will grant us all. We inscribe and seal for a happy and healthy, sweet New Year. Shabbat Shalom.